Why is there only one God? I mean, it's one of the biggest questions out there, right? Well, today, we're going to walk through a really fascinating logical proof built right from the Quran that tackles that very idea. So let's just start there. Let's actually play this out. What would the universe even look like if there were a bunch of gods, each one with their own will, their own power? Posing this one simple question, well, it unlocks the whole thing. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the argument from order. Then we'll dive into the conflict that would just have to happen. We'll look at what a divided universe would mean, and finally, we're going to find proof in the very fabric of reality itself. All right, first up, the argument from order. The idea here is actually super simple, something we all kind of get. Any system, and I mean any system, with more than one boss at the very top is basically set up to fail. It's just destined for chaos. And this verse lays it out so clearly. It's saying, hey, the fact that the universe is even running, that it's stable and ordered, that in itself is proof of a single ruler. Because if you had multiple wills pulling in different directions, the heavens and the earth would be, well, a complete wreck. The order we see points to one source.
I mean, look at the contrast. On one hand, you get a system that has unity, harmony, everything working together. On the other hand, you get inevitable disagreement, conflict, and ruin. You really can't have it both ways.
And you know, we see this principle everywhere in our own lives. Think about it. Every company has one CEO. Every organization has one person who has the final say. Sure, you can have lots of managers and deputies, but that final decision has to come from one place. Otherwise, nothing gets done. The whole system would just grind to a halt. So that brings us to the next logical step. If we're going to imagine multiple gods exist, you have to think about their nature and power. Well, power doesn't like to share. Which leads us to the argument from ambition.
History is full of perfect examples of this. Just look at any big empire from the past. You've got one supreme leader, right? An emperor, a king. But what happens the second that leader is gone? The sub-rulers, the governors, the generals, they immediately start fighting each other for control. Every single time, the empire falls into chaos.
And that historical pattern is exactly what this verse is talking about. It's saying if there were these other, lesser gods, they wouldn't just hang out and coexist peacefully. Their ambition would drive them to try and take over, to find a way to the ultimate seat of power, the throne, for themselves.
Okay, but let's take this a step further. What if that power struggle really hit its peak? Well, that leads to our third point, a scenario where the universe itself becomes the prize. This is the argument from creation.
Now, the implication here is just, wow. This verse paints a really intense picture. In a fight, what's the logical thing to do? Each creator would claim their own creations. They'd basically say, this part's mine, and they'd either leave with it, or worse, use it to attack the others.
Can you even imagine that? It's not just a disagreement. It's a physical, cosmic breakup. The universe would literally shatter like a mirror, with each god grabbing their piece of the puzzle. It would completely cease to be one whole thing.
So, that brings us to the big reality check. We've talked through these logical outcomes, chaos, power grabs, a broken reality. So, when we actually look out at the universe, is that what we see?
The answer, based on everything we've ever observed, is a clear, definitive no. We see zero evidence of some cosmic civil war. Instead, what we see is a system that is so complex it's mind-boggling, running in perfect, predictable harmony. And not just for a few centuries, for billions of years.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most powerful piece of the argument from reality. This is where we stop talking about hypotheticals and start looking at tangible, hard evidence that's all around us.
And the proof is in something pretty staggering. 100% uniqueness in every single thing that exists. There are no two things in the entire universe that are perfectly, exactly the same. That's not a sign of mass production. That is the signature of a single, deliberate artist.
And modern science just keeps confirming this in more and more amazing ways. We all know every single person's fingerprints are unique. Same with the irises in our eyes. We even have unique thermal signatures. The heat pattern our body gives off is like no one else's. Even identical twins have different fingerprints.
But here's the part that really gets me. That uniqueness isn't just between you and me. It's inside a single person. Your right thumbprint is completely different from your left thumbprint. Think about that. Two things made for the same person, by the same creator, at the same time,
and they are still perfectly, individually unique.
So this incredible, absolute uniqueness that you see everywhere from the biggest galaxy to the tiniest ridges on your own finger, it's like a constant reminder. It all points back to one unified source of creation, which just makes you say, glorified is Allah, Lord of the throne.
So, the order, the stability, the mind-blowing uniqueness of our universe, it all seems to point in one direction. And that leaves me with one final thought for you. Where else in the world around you do you see the signature of this unity?